they are, like, for example, like if a person is say like an artist, how would a person be an artist if not just by a self ID? What necessary conditions are there for there to be an artist? I think there are a lot of titles in which I'm just saying, I think there are a lot of titles in which we have, in which the only valid way to determine if someone falls into that title would be for them to say that they are.
No, not necessarily. The art can be defined. When you add the word ist or ism to something, right, it means that the person is professionally engaged in it. So, for example, you would just say an artist is a person who creates a wide-encompassing set of human activities aimed at creating visual, performing, or other aesthetic objects. That's what you would say for a person who's an artist. So there are necessary conditions. Now, back to my question.
I'm sorry. How are we determining that, though? Because not everyone determines the same.
What?
Not everyone determines the same things to be art, though. What are you talking about?
I think that you're... Yeah, Tashika, the point is flying over your head like a frisbee. I'm not saying to you that everyone has to have... No, it is. I'll explain, honey. So I'm not saying to you that everyone has to have the same ubiquitous understanding of a word. Nobody said that. This is where you're confused, hon. What I'm saying to you is that when you use the word must communicate something. So nothing is being communicated, lovely. When you say that a woman is a person who identifies as a woman, they're not communicating anything to me there. Someone else can mean something different. But when you say trans women are women, what do you mean when you say the word? I'm not asking you to have some sort of unanimous, ubiquitous understanding of the word. So you're straw manning and you're not listening to what's being said.
I don't think that's actually a straw man, my love. I don't think that's actually the case, though. I don't think I'm straw manning. I think we just simply have a different definition. Hey, baby, I think we just simply have a different definition of what we're saying when we say these things. I think that when a person
I don't know what your
identifies,
definition is.
I'm not done. I think I did give you the definition, right?
The definition was circular.
It was not circular at all, right? I think there are some IDs. I think there are some IDs that can indeed be circular. Maybe it doesn't like actually. I don't know if it fulfills your like logical. I'm sure you can call it that. But if it is the case that someone actually says
that means your
they are
argument
something,
is illegitimate.
if it is the case that someone says that they are like, if it is the case that someone like self IDs as a particular title, again, I still hold to the sports fan thing, the artist thing. Even when someone calls themselves beautiful, right?
All of those
these things are simply. Right, but a person, when they say to themselves, they are still defining it within their own context and their own experiences.
And they aren't circular when they say it. They don't say I'm a sports fan because
how is a trans woman circular when she says that she's a woman?
Yeah, because you're just saying that's the thing. When you say that you're a woman because you're a woman, that is circular. When you say you're a fan because you're a fan, that's also circular. You would say I'm a fan because I'm an avid, enthusiastic supporter of something. So the word means something.
Even still, I don't agree with what you're saying.
1 second, you're interrupting again. So
I don't agree with what you said on that point.
Okay, 1 second, love. So this is where the thing is. I don't know if we're all taught this in elementary school, so I'm going to ask you chat for a sec. How many of us here were taught that when we're defining a word, we don't repeat the word itself when defining the word? Were you not taught this one? You spoke about how intelligent you were.
I was taught this one, but again, there are some contexts in which these things can be true.
No,
but also again, this isn't me using. I'm not saying that a woman is a woman. I'm saying that simply that we have particular standards within society that would be defined or characterized as something that is particular to womanhood. It is dependent upon the actual society. But I'm saying that the most valid one would be that of someone who identifies as a woman. Because, for example, like how can it like a butch? I'm asking, like, do you think like a butch lesbian? You're lagging really bad. What the fuck? I think I just killed the call.
Hold on. Am I here or am I not here? Apologies.
You are here.
Okay, apologies. Got a bit of a lag there. Right, what were you saying?
Right. I don't think my definition was circular at all. I think that there are some like actual like social aspects of the way that we would recognize a person as dependent upon the society of what a woman would be. Right. But I just think personally the most valid identification of what a woman is will be dependent on whatever a person's internal perception of themselves to be and where they fall in society.
Right, so describe to me what that perception would be that would make them a woman and distinguish them from a man. That's what I'm asking. It can't just be that they're calling themselves a woman. You have to tell me what the word means.
Well, like even as a woman myself, there's a particular way in which we are treated, in the way that we dress, in the way that we act, that is indicative or representative of someone of like the female sex, of the stereotypes that we have for said sex. Right? Yeah. I think people align with that. I think people a lot of time when they walk through life.
Stereotypes define women?
No, but that's kind of what these standards are.
Well, the standards in it. Okay,
there is nothing that is necessarily like intrinsic to that of like women, right? But there are certain traits that we attribute to that of females and women.
Right, but no, hold on. The things that we attribute to a category don't necessarily define the category. I'm not asking you what we attribute to women. I'm asking you what defines women. So I'll give a counter example. For example, we may attribute or expect children, for example, to be very jovial and careless, right? That's something that we attribute to children, something that is ascribed, it's associated with persons who are children. But we don't define a child as a person who is careless and playful, because there are adults who are playful and careless. Am I correct?
Right, I understand what
are you saying no
here.
to?
Well, I know I understand what you're saying, but I feel like you're not really grasping what I'm saying here.
I did hear what you said. I'm just saying to you that you're not answering my question.
Right, but that's not what I'm saying. I think when people determine themselves to be a woman, right? I think again, these things will be based upon like their looks, their behaviors, and the things that we do attribute to gender. I think there are some times, as in this particular context, in which we can like attribute the behaviors that are that's not a word. The stereotypes and behaviors that are attributed to a particular like sex and gender. I think this is a thing. Obviously, when we say
Tashika,
go ahead.
You're missing the question now. What are those looks and behaviors? That's what I'm asking you to do now. So you said that.
Are you asking for this society or just in general?
We already answered this question. Let's go with America.
I don't know if you're asking a different question.
It's the same question I asked originally. You said originally that women were defined. One second, hold on. You said previously that women were defined as a category based on social characteristics that are associated with the female sex. Is what you said. I said, okay, what are those social and cultural characteristics? You asked me what society. Right. I said, let's go with the society that you live in. You live in the United States. Right. Am I correct?
Okay, I didn't hear you say that. So yeah. United States. Right. So with the United States, it would be like anything closely determined like to the what's the word again? I totally forgot. Fuck. The social or sexual standards of that of women, right? So we know that a lot of women have a particular like body type, or height or hair, or there are things that like, I don't know what the word is. I totally forgot what the fucking word is. But yeah, there's a certain way that women sound, the way that they behave, or whether they are expected to behave. The hair length, makeup, overall, like,
Those are all just sexist stereotypes. Huh? You're being sexist.
But that's not at all. These are simply, well, I guess you can say that these standards that we have are sexist, but that doesn't mean that that's not like what people base these things off of.
Wait,
like, I can agree with you on that. I could agree with you on that point.
Wait, hold on. So
I think the butch lesbian goes against all of that.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Let's come to a resolution then. The problem here is that you're saying that women are defined by these things, but those things are sexist. So you're being sexist towards women. You're defining women by sexist tropes and then saying that it's okay. That's what you're doing.
You can say depending on where these particular standards come from. You can say that they have like a sexist basing, but you are asking based on the society in which I live in, that is how people in their society see these things.
But you agree that those things are not accurate. So then when I ask you to define it, those things don't matter then. Because if you're saying to me that where you live in your society,
when people look for a woman, they are looking for particular traits that are attributed to like the feminine sex, and things like long hair and lashes and things like that.
Can men have long hair?
100%, and a lot of those men get confused for women.
So they might, hold on, but the operative word, they're being confused. So they're not women because of their lashes and their hair. So
they're not women because they don't identify as such.
They're not, okay, but then that's where the circularity comes back in again.
It's not. It's not a circularity. If a man is short and let's say like a twink, like for example,
what do you mean
and they have long hair?
Man there? What do you mean when you say the word man?
One who identifies as a man.
That's circular. Literally. Just went over this.
I think it's fine. I think that's the only. That's the only viable thing. I don't think there's going to be any other.
The only viable option is circular reason.
There is literally going to be no other necessary condition to determine whether or not they are a man or a woman, other than their actual internal perception and the social schema that they have, what they are and what they aren't.
Okay, but that's still circular. You can't say a man is a person who says they're.
You can say that gender is fallacious, and that's fine. But that's what we have.
Okay, so then so trans people are fallacious because they have a gender. So is that what you're saying?
That would mean that cis people are fallacious.
Well, that's your view on.
If we can agree that gender as a construct in and of itself is fallacious, I can agree with that. But that is literally the only justifiable reason in which we can call anyone anything.
No, but it's not. It's not fallacious.
Then,
so
I'm so confused though. What is the necessary conditions to be a woman?
And that you need to be adult, human, and female. And to be female, you're an organism that is over primarily denoting the sex that produces large gametes.
I'm sorry, but socially, right? When a person goes up to you, I don't know what you look like particularly, but if a person, I can just use the one that I was using before, with like the twink with long hair, right? And they go, that man over there. How do you know that that's a man?
You don't always 100% know the sex of the person. That's what we call an assumption, which has to do with the perception.
The assumption, the perception matters within gender.
No, but the perception can be false. So that's not what defines a person as a man. You can perceive them incorrectly. So perception.
How would a person in of themselves know what they're? How would a person in of themselves know exactly what their chromosomes are if they haven't seen
chromosomes them? Don't define sex, so that would be irrelevant.
Well, I'm asking you about these traits that we typically wouldn't see, because again, these things would boil down to how people are expected to look when they pertain to a particular gender, right? No. Even with the bush lesbians get confused with men all the time.
Yeah, but the word, yet again, the operative word, they're being confused. So although they're masculine, there's still something that
they're confused with men because they say that they are women.
No, they're not confused with men because they say they're women. They're confused with men because we traditionally associate masculine traits with men, and when we see a woman, we often confuse it. So what the problem here is...
So what traits would the bush lesbian have that would make a person confuse them with a man?
I just answered you the traditionally masculine traits. So there are things that we associate.
And that would be?
One second. There are characteristics that we associate. I'm answering your question. There are things that we traditionally associate with men, right? So characteristics that we traditionally associate with men in, for example, Western society, right, are considered masculine. So the problem here is that you're conflating what is considered socially and culturally masculine with what a man is, and you're confusing what is considered socially and culturally feminine.
How would the person determine how would the person who is looking at a butch lesbian know that they are like what particular traits is there? What is a necessary condition?
What particular traits for what?
For them to confuse them with a man.
I don't know what the necessary conditions are. That's the reason that how would
the person confuse them with a man?
That's the reason That's the reason I'm not defining women and men by social perception. You are. So I'm not committed to answering that question.
But wait a minute. So wait a minute. So when you confuse someone, how do you know that you're wrong?
When I confuse someone as a sex that they're not.
When you confuse them with when you confuse their gender, right? How do you know that they're not that?
How do I know they're not that? I don't always know. That's why perception is irrelevant, because to me, sex is objective. You have a sex whether or not I perceive you as that sex or not. You're coming from a subjective standpoint where you think it's defined by perception. There's lots of flaws there. I'm not defining gender by perception. You are. So
I don't deny the fact. I still wouldn't call them a man though, because I think men and women are literally again determined by the particular society, like the way in which people perceive you, are determined by like these societal factors in which we have.
Okay, but
right?
I'm asking you what those things are, and when you listen, they apply to both.
But I asked you what those things are, and you couldn't do that.
Yeah, because
I just asked you that in the case of the bush lesbian.
No, because you are the one. But
I just needed you to answer that question in terms of like how would a person like because I'm asking you the question if it is but I have given you the particular traits, but you have not been able to give me like the necessary traits that would help them determine whether or not this person is a woman or a man.
I did. I said an adult human female, and that exists objectively.
How would you know that they're an adult human female? You can say I don't think trans men deny that they're female.
Can you listen?
Yeah, baby.
Sex is objective. Do you know what it means for something to be objective on?
Right, true, regardless of like perception. I understand.
Right, it means mind independent. So if sex exists objectively, I don't need to perceive a person as an adult human female for there to be an adult human female. So your question is flawed. I'm not committed to answering that question because I don't think that woman is a category contingent upon one's perception. That's where your question is confused. You're asking me a question that does not apply to my stance. You're the one saying that it's subjective. So you are committed to answering what are the characteristics that we use that would make a person a woman.
But I've given you them. But now I'm asking
you. No, you didn't. All the characteristics you listed apply to both men and women. There was no distinction.
But you were asking within the society. I'm not telling you what myself is.
No. The characteristics within society, those characteristics apply to both.
But I don't hold to those societies. I mean, I don't hold to these things.
Yes,
I would still call a butch lesbian a woman.
No, you said
despite the fact that she would look like a man.
Right. Okay, but you haven't told me what a woman or a man is yet. That's the problem.
But I have. I think there are some things in terms of gender. We can just say that gender is fallacious. I would agree with that probably.
So then trans people's existence is fallacious?
No, not at all.
Everyone's existence as a gender is fallacious?
I would call myself closer to that of a gender abolitionist.
Wait, hold on. But do you know what gender abolitionism is? Let me explain it to you. Gender abolition does not say that women and men don't exist. It's saying that they want to abolish the stereotypes surrounding masculinity and femininity.
Not at all. I hold to that as well.
hold on. So hold on. So masculinity and femininity have nothing to do with defining women and men. That's the thing. So masculine and feminine.
I didn't even use that word.
Yes, no. The characteristics. What do you think the characteristics are that we traditionally associate with the female sex are called? They're called feminine traits, on. That's what they're called.
Right, but no,
you said that those things define women. You said
but I don't know who we is, right? Like I don't know who we is because I don't necessarily attribute. I don't. Society. But I don't hold to that. So I don't know why you're telling me this.
You do, because you said women were defined by those social cultural characteristics
within society. But I don't hold women to these things. I know women who do not. I know women who do not have feminine traits.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking you. You think trans women are women? So let's avoid society. Why do you think they're women?
I think most likely because they self-ID as so. They look at what they are and what they aren't based on society. It's not. They look at what they are and what they. They look at what they are and what they aren't within society. They look at the behaviors in the way in which people are treated. They look at the way that women look. These are all the things that we all do. The same way in which we determine, in which I determine that I am a woman and you determine whatever the fuck you are.
That's still circular.
The same way in which they determine then I guess gender is circular.
Okay, then it's fallacious. So then you don't know what a woman is.
Then I guess
so
gender is fallacious.
Okay, so you can't say trans women.
Then I'm not a woman. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Wait, so hold on. So how do you support women who are attracted to other women if you don't know what a woman is? Because you have
what are you talking about? It's not that I don't know what a woman is. We just don't agree on what the definition is. I would just say then gender is just fallacious, which I would agree with.
Circular. Definition is literally circular. You said a woman is a person who says they're a woman.
I think the only valid way for us to determine what is actually a woman based upon society and their behaviors would be self-ID.
Okay, but that's circular. Okay, all right. If you want
then we can say that gender is circular. That's fine. I'm not saying that these things are incredibly I'm not saying that these things are incredibly and terribly logical. I'm saying that it's okay for these things to be illogical. I think the social standards. I'm not done speaking. I think the social standards in which we have can be illogical and circular.
Okay, so if they're illogical, then they have nothing to do with defining a category, because we don't define categories illogically.
Then if it is the case that a trans woman is not a woman for the same reason I'm a woman, then I'm not a woman either.
Okay, then you can't say you support.
And then you're not a man. Then no one in here.
Well, no,
I would support their right to exist and exist as they are. Yes, I would.
You're saying
I think it goes beyond the actual logic of these things. My morality. One second. I think my morality here goes beyond whether or not these things are like logical.
You're crushing it now. This isn't a moral conversation.
But that's what I'm not making it a moral conversation. What I'm saying is that these things I'm determining it based off of whether or not these people have a right to exist. I don't think Christians make any fucking sense. I think they are inherently fallacious. Do they have the right to exist? 100%.
Yeah, but when a person says no, but when a person says they're a Christian, what does that word mean?
That would be they believe in God or whatever they determine God to be.
You see how you didn't say a Christian was a person who says they're a Christian? Bingo. So let's not do that with the word woman.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You just proved my point.
I didn't prove your. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to restate the argument. I'm going to restate. No. I understand what you're saying. I'm going to restate this to you. No. I got you. I understand what you're saying, and that circular. Okay, I understand what you're saying. That circular definitions are. I'm sorry. That circular definitions are fallacious. If it is the case that gender, in and of itself, and the concept of gender that we have is fallacious, then that's fine.
Okay, but what you mean by gender?
But that has nothing to do with whether or not I can support these people.
You can't support. Why would you support a logically fallacious concept?
I would support their right to exist.
Yeah, hold on, but you're saying I support trans people's right to exist. They exist. They're trans women, are just not women. So
if they're not women, then I'm not a woman. I don't see how these things cannot be categorized towards me as well.
Hold on. No, but you're a woman because you're an adult human female.
Right, but I think these things also extend to that of our social, like the social implications of way that I'm perceived.
Yeah, but the social implications you couldn't explain. And you also
I just don't think you. I think you just called these things. I think you just called. I have like 5 minutes left. You just called these things stereotypes and say that like these things are like illogical. But okay, that's fine. Right, and I'm saying that that's fine. But again, if it is the case that like if someone is looking at me and I look like a man and they say that I look like a man and they call me he, right?
What does the word man mean?
It is because
what does the word man mean in that sentence?
It is based upon their perception of the standards within the society.
Okay, their perceptions can be wrong. So the standards clearly don't define women and men. So it doesn't extend to those social implications.
Right, but whether or not they would be wrong or right will be dependent on whether or not I confirm or deny whatever they're saying.
Nope. It would be contingent upon your biology.
But I think I don't think we're ever going to agree, baby.
You don't know.
I don't think we're ever going to. I do know what a woman is. I think we can just agree that they're fallacious.
No.
I've always said that gender doesn't make any sense and that it doesn't actually hold any actual utility.
Okay, so trans women are fallacious.
If trans women are fallacious and cis women are fallacious.
So women are just not a thing. So women's rights, y'all debate abortion, but women's rights don't matter.
That is I think you know how disingenuous that is. I think you know how disingenuous that is.
No.
Women.
Do you debate abortion? Are you pro-choice? You fight for women's rights, right?
This would be in a case of like females.
You're fighting for the rights of a fallacious category.
I don't. Just because these standards, these particular, we have standards in society. Even though these things are fallacious, we have systems that are built. I'm not. I think we just have systems that are just simply built. You don't need to mute them. I think we just have systems that are built upon like fallacious things. I think that's fine.
Okay, hold on. So yet again, if you think that women are a fallacious category,
there are like in terms of 1 second, like in terms of like women's rights, right? We have people who are perceived as women and they get treated in a particular way because
what do you mean when you say the word woman there?
I mean, people. I've given. I don't know how to answer the question.
The same circular. I know you don't know how to answer because you've been doing this the whole time. You keep not answering that question. I keep asking, what do you mean by woman?
I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
I do understand. You're saying that you're saying that they identify as women. You're not telling me what the word means.
I have told you what the word means. I just think you disagree.
No, it was circular. You can't say that a woman is a person who says they're a woman.
Then we can say that it's illogical. I think gender is illogical in and of itself.
So then you're illegitimizing your argument. So your claim that trans women are women and can be lesbian.
No.
How are you not getting this?
What do you? Because I also factor in the social aspects of gender and not just the actual like adult human male and adult human female thing. I think we just fundamentally disagree on what these words.
You didn't agree with the social implications. Stop lying.
Right, but it doesn't mean that these things do not factor into how we treat people and how and what systems are built off of in the society. I'm giving you like a practical reason as to like how we treat people. Whether or not these things are valid, I find to be incredibly irrelevant.
It is relevant if they're valid. If they're not valid, then they don't define the category. What are you talking about?
No,
if
when I say, okay, go ahead.
Category. If they're not valid, if you agree that those social implications are not valid, right, and they don't necessarily define the category, then they have nothing to do with the question at hand, which is what defines the category.
They definitely do. I think the society still defines the category, even though the category is built on fallacious matters. I think that's the fact that we live in it. Just because I disagree doesn't mean that's not the reality. I don't know what you're saying to me right now.
Hold on. Okay, let me give you an analogy. If I have, right, a set of social stereotypes that I associate, right, you and I are both people of color. If I have characteristics that I associate with people of color, right, and that it exists, the reality is that it exists in society. There are things that we associate with people of color, all these nasty stereotypes, right? And I say to you that I treat people differently, white people and black people, based upon those perceived differences. Does that define people of color?
What do you mean by define people of color?
Do we define? Okay, I'll give you a very.
Like, how do you know that a dark-skinned Indian person is not black?
Pardon?
Like, how do you know that a dark-skinned Indian person is not black?
You're pivoting away from my question. This is just a lot of blank people.
I'm asking you if that's the kind of question that you're answering. That you're asking me right now.
I'm asking you about stereotypes associated with the category. So let's say we associate.
But that's
family
what I'm
barbecues.
saying, though. Isn't that the same question?
No, it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
Question is, let's say I have stereotypes that we associate with black people. Let's say some ridiculous shit like going to family barbecues and type shit, right? And there are those stereotypes that we associate with those group of people. Does that define them, although it exists in reality that we associate that with black people? What
do you mean by define? Like, that is who they actually are?
You don't know what the word
if it doesn't align with their own perception of themselves, then no.
Okay, so if a person's perception of themselves aligned with being black by going to family barbecues, you think that person is valid? If they're self-perception, they're black if they go to family barbecues. Is that? Are you serious?
How do you, like? That's what I'm asking you though. Like, that's what I'm asking you. Like, for example, like, how do you know that like a dark-skinned Indian person isn't black? What is it?
I'm not talking about the racial category itself.
No. But I'm asking you what I think is the same question that you're asking, right? It would just simply be based upon like, why would a dark-skinned Indian person call themselves Asian and not black?
Because they're from Asia. That's where the country is. That's where the lineage is.
Right, but black people live in Asia and they're not. They wouldn't necessarily call themselves Asian.
Their ancestry does not come from Asia, does it?
Does it?
From Africa.
Okay,
Africa's not Asia. Two different continents.
I'm sorry. Isn't everyone's ancestry from Africa? I don't know. How far are you bringing this back? What is the standard
You missed my question completely. What is this?
I'm not trying to miss your question, but is that not like the spectrum question that you're asking me right
I don't
now?
think you're getting it. It's okay. I think we'll just...
I believe in the ways in which I'm asking you the question, the way in which I'm understanding your question. You're asking me like in terms of the spectrum that we have for like identity and whether or not a person calling someone something defines what that person is. I'm saying to you that this will be determined based upon whether or not that perception that a person aligns with themselves.
Okay,
I
but
think
when
it
the
would be case
person
by
says
case.
that they have a perception... Okay, you're missing the point. When a person says they have a perception that aligns with something, what does it mean? That's what we're asking.
I'm sorry, say that again.
No, it's okay. Sorry?
Say that again.
When the person says that they identify a particular way and identify with something, what do they mean when they say the word? That's what I'm trying to get from you here. So when
When they identify... Okay, go ahead.
When the person says they identify as a woman, for example, going back to the example, missed it again, right? Oh, is that the sound of you getting mind blown because you don't know what you're talking about?
No, I think we just fundamentally disagree on what these things mean.
Okay, if you want to stop it here, that's fine. Don't think you're gonna get it, but thank you.
I didn't say that, but it's fine.
You said that you said you had 5 minutes left. You gonna keep going?
I do, but if you're done, then like yeah, I guess we can have the conversation later.
All right, go stream on Twitch, go play Minecraft. Have a good day. You're gonna have to kick me though. I don't know how to leave.
Holy shit, dude.